everyone, welcome back to the channel. So yesterday I took a visit up to see my friend Mark, and we done some work on his larch which he's owned for a few years and he's never really known what to do with it. We've now finally set the tree onto the path that it deserves for a brighter future. So I'm going to leave you with that and then I'll come back to you afterwards. So at this point we've tilted the tree forward and changed the angle just slightly on it. And what we're doing now is we're setting the first branch. So we've wired the main branch, and what we're doing now is we've attached a guy wire and we're just going to move that branch back a little bit and then up a little bit as well, just so it's away from the trunk line. That way we can see the movement in the trunk. Now we've put the first branch where we've placed it, we are just checking the second branch above it to see whereabouts that's going to sit. That way we know if the first branch is set where it needs to be. At this point I think we decided that we need to make some minor adjustments. So here we're just making some adjustments to the guy wire and we're pulling the branch in towards Mark. Now the branch is exactly where we want it. We've lifted it up a bit and now we can see the shari and the trunk line. Now we're just putting some tape around the branch because it's quite a big branch and we don't want it to snap. So we use a slightly smaller gauge wire and then we use a guy wire with it. That way we are limiting the risk of the branch snapping. So when we're wiring, we're making sure that all our coils are the same distance apart and there's no big gaps. That way you're not putting pressure on any one point. So what I've done now is I've got my gym pliers and I'm just on the armpit of the branch on the wire. So when Mark tries to bend that branch, I'm taking some of the pressure off and hopefully that way it won't snap. So what we're doing now is we're moving that branch round just enough towards that first branch, and then that way we can get our guy wire on and we can pull the branch in even further from there. But we're just doing very carefully and just feeling that branch, just checking nothing's breaking. So now a slight adjustment with the guy wire just to keep that branch in place. And then what we'll do is Mark steps out of shot just to check that it's where we need it. So what we do now is we're trying to compress that apex down and we're trying to get it down enough so that it's nearer the two branches that we've just set, in the hope that we can pull it into place at a later date and just try and fill a bit of the space. After some trying and some discussions, we pull that down as much as we could. Later on though, when we stepped back and we actually looked at it, we kind of discussed the fact that that S on the top looks so unnatural, doesn't need to be there. In fact, right at the end of the session, when we were chatting, we decided to cut it off completely. Now the fun part, we cracked out the Dremel and the Makita, and what we're going to do now is open the shari up so this whole section is completely hollow up to the point where it just starts to meet where the live branches are. We're discussing that maybe over time and in future it will probably completely be hollow, but at the minute we just need to do it slowly. Just to eliminate risk of damaging the live vein, we went in there with a disc and cut a neat line just down the edge of it. That way I'm not going in with the nibbler and taking out too much material. Back to the die grinder, just get that last bit of wood out there that you can see, and I'm hoping now that it'll make enough room so I can fit the Dremel up there and get right the way to the top. So a mixture of the two now. The Dremel I can get right close to that live vein and not have any fear of ripping too much of it out, and also then going into the die grinder I can get more material out quicker. So what we're doing now is we're chasing the live vein, that way we can figure out which part is dead, and we're going to open it all the way up to the top of the tree. So we decided this part looked quite chunky and like almost like a chainsaw chop. So we're just trying to put a little bit more of a natural feel to it. And what we decided in the end, after me doing all of this, is that piece of wood that I've got my hand on at the moment, we just took it off. After a little bit of detail work with a disc, we're just drying the wood off with a blowtorch and getting rid of any fuzziness. That way we can just apply a little bit of lime sulphur. After some lunch, we had the tree at a different angle. We actually decided it looked a lot better like this, even though we'd set the branches right, we just chopped that top off. So as you can see, there were some major decisions made there, but we both agreed that that's definitely what the tree needed in order to push it on in the right path, in the right direction. I think the next step is we're just going to leave it to grow and then look towards maybe doing a bit of detail wiring just to try and get some of those branches in place so we're creating more pads. After that, when it comes to a repot, I think we're going to have to build some sort of box so that we can get it into the angle that we wanted before we even think about putting it in its final pot. I have suggested for its final pot maybe a slightly smaller drum pot but deeper. If you like that video, if you could just hit the like button for me, that'd be great. And if you haven't already subscribed, if you could subscribe, that'd be awesome. Thanks to everyone that already follows me, and take care, enjoy the rest of your day.